Hey y'all. All right. So we're just gonna go ahead and jump in. I'm exhausted today, and so I'm not trying to be here for very long today. Sorry. I'm tired. I had a long day today. So let's go ahead and jump in. What did everybody rate it?
What did you rate it?
I don't know yet.
Same. That's why I was like, meh, I don't
I
know.
don't know yet. Yeah. But while y'all are giving your ratings, just to give you a little background, this is a reboot the of Milestone Comics, um, which was designed to be a black independent um, comic book company back in the 90s. Um, some of the most prominent characters from Milestone include like Hardware, Icon, Rocket, Static Shock. Um, and so what they did is that and basically Milestone was its own independent company, and um, DC was a distributor. So that's why it's attached to DC, because they distribute it through DC. Um, but you had Dwayne McDuffie was one of the brains behind the operations. Unfortunately, he's passed since then, and so he created this universe where black kids were able to see themselves as superheroes. Um, it got really, really big, especially with Static, as some of y'all was saying. Static um, was a cartoon at one time. So now they've brought on some other people to continue the legacy, which you'll see in the beginning of this one. Why do I always forget his name? He's one of the biggest names behind Black Panther, and I see his last name starts with an H. Hold on,
Hill?
huh?
Hill?
No.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I try to throw a name out.
Um, Reggie. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Why can't I?
Huntington?
Uh, I don't know why. I'm very, very tired. So that could also be why I am not remembering. But anyway, he's the one who did the introduction to this. If you didn't notice, if you didn't read that part, there was a his name is Reginald
Yeah,
Hudlin.
he talked about the history of comics and
Yeah, he talked about the history of
superhero, let's say.
comics. He also talked about the history of he talked about the history of Milestone Comics, and he is a part of. I can't remember whether he. I know he did. Did he do Milestone Returns? And I think he did something else. Um, so this is just the first of them. This is just the first of them doing. This is the first season of them bringing back Milestone. So right now in the collected editions, I believe there is Static, there's Icon and Rocket, and there's Hardware, and then there's supposed to be more um, releasing fall of this year. I think the second season of Static should be out this fall, And then there's some other stuff coming out. Yeah, thank you, Tia. That's who I was talking about. I was like, yo, like I'm bugging right now. But he did do the introduction, so there's a lot of history behind there's a lot of history behind Milestone Comics. A lot of people were excited to see that it was being revived. And so they brought some names on board to help revive these comics. Um, yeah, I would go back and read if possible. I would go back and read the introduction. It gives a lot of context for why even basically if you're a new reader, you're not really missing out by not having read anything about Static before because
Mhm.
it literally is a very similar origin story. It's just updated to fit the times in terms of like
And
them
that it
starting
did.
off. Huh?
And that it did.
Yeah. And so I would highly recommend reading the introduction. I also would recommend if you didn't read beyond the 6 issues, it ties in very well Rocket and Icon. So all of these people are interconnected, which is why parts of it may not have 100% made sense. Um, but Rocket and Icon are tied into that because Rocket is in the same city as Static. So it's very, very interesting history behind it. I was excited when I found out that they were rebooting and DC has now designated um, Milestone to have its own universe essentially.
Ooh.
So it's pretty cool. Um, if I would go through, I probably would say I would give it 4 stars. Um, you're working with some pretty new voices. Um, in this first bind up, although the actual writer on it, they are not new. They've done some work for DC. I know that they actually have been doing some of the Nubia stuff for DC as well. But as far as your like your artists and your coloring, I think that and placement and stuff like that, I think they're a little bit newer to the game, which I think kind of showed in the work itself. But I would give it 4 stars. I thought it was a quick read, um, and it was entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm
You
also
do
a
the
little
jokes
biased
in it.
because I like Milestones, so there's that.
Mm-hmm. Never heard of it prior to this.
Yeah, Milestone is a big. It was a big deal in the '90s. Big deal.
Mhm.
Um, and I had experienced my first Dwayne McDuffie. I've never read any of the actual. I haven't read any of the original stuff that like Dwayne McDuffie did, but I was first introduced to Dwayne McDuffie by reading um, Deathlock, which is features a black character um, that was it's part of the Marvel universe. Very interesting if you're interested in conversations about pacifists.
Mm.
Um, extremely interesting insight to that. But that was my first introduction to Dwayne McDuffie was through Deathlock. So I was interested to see how they were going to reboot his characters. Um, but it's interesting. It's the first introduction I think we have to Milestone. I probably will this year. And there's so many. I feel like every time we have these conversations, I'm always like, oh, now I have to pick up X, Y, and Z. So now I feel like I need to pick up Icon and Rocket and Icon, and also Hardware, which they're all introduced in this first one. So there's that as well. Any thoughts, Brie?
Um, I don't know where I want to rate it. I'm somewhere around a 4. Sorry about this light. The
It's fine.
damn window was open. Um, well, I did like take pictures of my favorite parts of the comic that I wanted to talk about. What I loved most is how it is set in like, contemporary terms, is that the word, or now?
Mhm.
And I loved how there was humor in it. There was also a very positive Black family representation of like, we talk about things, we try to work through things, and also your mental health matters. One of my favorite panels was when his parents were finding out that he had powers, and they were all talking over him or about him in front of him, which is something I hate that people do, especially when parents do that to children, as if they don't have any autonomy in what's going on in their own life. And I loved how the parents self corrected in that moment and was like, we're talking over you, not over you, we're talking about you in front of you, and not one has asked you for your insight into what's going on in your body, in addition to his white friends trying to be there for them. But he's like, they don't get it, they don't understand. And then once his friends told him, like, we were wrong for assuming that because you are a bang kid, that you are inherently bad. And we apologize for that. We'll always be there for you. And that release he felt after that, of just not knowing how much that weighed on him. I think those things from a mental health point of view was done really well. That was like
Mm.
my favorite parts of the series, in addition to other things too.
Least favorite parts?
Least favorite parts, the drawing.
Yeah, the art's different. It's a different art style.
That was it.
Yeah, the art style is definitely more. I feel
It's bright
more
as
like
hell.
for me, it's just the style. The style it looked very. I mean, I know a lot of the work that people do now is on like the computer
Yeah.
or on a tablet,
Uh-huh.
but this was like super. I don't know how to describe it, but it felt like it was like ultra animated. Like I just like I don't know. It's hard for me to describe. I wasn't the hugest fan of the artwork, especially when Static used his powers.
Mm.
It was very hard to discern what was going on, especially when him and um what's old dude's name with the fire? Um when the two of
Oh,
them
forgot
were
his name. Something health, something fire, right?
Ford, fire, flame, whatever.
Flame on. Sorry.
Listen, but his use of AAV made me want to drop into that comic and
I
slap the hell out of
know,
him.
I
That's what I
know.
do know.
I love those earrings.
Thank you. Thank you.
They are so cute.
Tackle.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I always get kind of frustrated with Hot Streak. Thank you.
Hot streak. I was like, flame
With
on.
a flamethrower. So like just I
Oh, too
I think
funny.
that I think that what's interesting about it is
They're
that
really trying to fail me.
whenever there's action scenes in comics, I don't like when the artwork becomes so chaotic that you can't even discern as a reader what's happening during a fight scene. And for me, that's where I struggled with is when they were fighting each other, it was kind of hard to tell what exactly was going on in some panels. And that's what threw me off about the artwork. It's almost like I wanted to get in there and be like, okay, tone down the exposure that you have going on with your artwork right now because it just felt a little too chaotic for me. Um I think that see what I hate when they do trades like this. The
Mm-hmm.
first issue, y'all, was not written by the writer of the following issues.
Mm.
It was a different writer and artist. Oh, by the way, I'll go back to it.
Huh.
Yeah, it wasn't the same people at first. Like that first issue that you read is different creators. Actually, Reginald wrote that first one.
Yeah.
So Yeah, 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 yeah. So the artists were changing, and I don't for a first trade, it feels kind of like a what they did. I feel like is they combined. So there were things that they were releasing when it was coming out issue by issue, and so what they did is they compiled what the actual writer of it did, and then Reginald's part of it. So it's all one story, but it just the way that they jumped from writer to artist, it'll throw you off. Yeah, they went from Reginald to Vita, but it was because I feel like I'm not even gonna pull my comics down, but they did a Milestone Returns issue 0. That's how it started. So everybody was getting kind of introduced to Milestone as a whole through Reginald, through Milestone Returns issue number 0. If I'm thinking right, I think that's how it went. And then you started getting your Static, and then Icon and Rocket, and then Hardware, their individual issues. Let me go get it because this is going to drive me wild. Hold on. It is. It's going to drive me wild because I know that's how I originally had read part of it was through that issue 0. This thing is so heavy now. Jesus. Oh my. Oh jeez. Oh
Yeah,
jeez.
I'll be honest. I had to really, I didn't have time to read who wrote or whatever. I just know, like, sometimes okay, I don't know if this makes sense, but I'm going to describe it. So, the brightness of the artwork in comparison to the size of the text, how some texts were like light gray and dark, all those changes fucked with my eyes. Like I had to like constantly reread, and I don't know if like my dyslexia was just not having it, but I was just like constantly rereading, constantly rereading. It kind of reminds me of like I really like Spy X Family, but some of the words written in Spy X Family is so freaking tiny that I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how you can read it like in regular text. Like, let me give you an example.
I'm listening to you.
Yeah, I'm trying to find an example of what I'm talking about. I just be like, really? Why did y'all write that so freaking tiny? Like, okay, for example, this says there we go. But it's like right,
Yeah.
hold on, it's like right here. You see it where I'm
Yeah.
pointing this finger?
Yeah. How's tiny?
It's like why do that? Like I can't I gotta
I
go
think that's
look
trying to fit
into
as much crap onto a page as possible without taking into consideration that
yeah.
everybody can't. That's for me. That feels like an accessibility issue.
It is an accessibility issue, so
Here we go.
yeah.
Because it took me forever and a day to hold on. And there's another one as well.
Yeah, I
I'm
read it
sorry, y'all.
digital too, Jessica. I was just like, oh. Yeah, I just kept thinking like if I had
Even when
this
I was
thing,
reading it digitally,
yeah, it was
it
still
was still hard.
jarring for my eyes. I was like, yeah. The fact that my professor has not responded to me is pissing me off. Sorry, nobody asked for that, but
I'm coming.
oh, it's okay. But yeah, let me see. Yeah, it makes sense if you know the history, but it wasn't clear until after the fact. Okay. Maggie Pie. I forget what we were talking about. I kept zooming in as if my life depended on it. For me, I was like, God damn, like shit, you know. So that was rough. That was rough. That was rough.
I'm still coming.
No, I hear you. I hear you. I should have bought this on Amazon, so I could have read it in high quality. Yeah, so like, let me show you what I have, y'all.
Got it. Jeez, well.
So I have, so this
Oh,
is my Static Shock. Um,
okay.
this is how clear it was. But you definitely need the squinting a lot was real. Um, And I don't think Hoopla has really figured out how to do comics like Cosmicology because like if you tap on the panel, double tap, right? You get that. But if
Mm-hmm.
you go through them, at some point at the end, it's gonna show you what it's like zoomed out, like the actual panel of it. So it's like, why do all that if I'm zooming in? Like I'm already in. But yeah, but I did think this part, let me zoom out. I did really like the darkness of this panel specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this was at the end of the book, at the end of the comic,
Wait,
but I was like,
put it
I
closer to
like
the
this.
screen. Put it closer to the screen.
Oh,
Oh, when G-Man.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was
Yeah.
like, wait, what is
So
that? What is that?
yeah, and I only think I liked it because it also looks like it doesn't the art isn't perfect. And that's what I really have come to realize
Mm-hmm.
what I like. That's probably why I love Bitterroot and love House of Slaughter and Something's Killing the Children because the art is not perfect.
Oh, you're gonna be. Hold on. I'm gonna tell you something that's gonna make you mad at me, but it's all right. You'll
No.
forgive me.
You started reading.
No, 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 no. I'm about
Oh,
to tell you something. I just need to check the date because I think I might be wrong, but I think I also might be. So I may potentially get the chance to meet Chuck Brown next week. Did you just turn your camera off? I'm sorry.
did y'all hear what she just said?
I said I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Rude.
I'm sorry.
I don't care what copy of Bitterroot that's chilling at your house. You better get it signed. You better get it signed and it better
Yeah.
be sent to me immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. So I may get the chance to
This is
slide
some
through and meet
bullshit.
him
This
next week.
already is a stressful day. I had to pay. What did I had to pay for car? My car accident? $808.93 goddamn cents. So it's already been a stressful day. I'm so sad.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I meant to tell you that before, but yeah. Um yeah.
I guess I'll survive.
Okay, moving on so we don't have to ponder on that. So there's two things that released. Well actually this one released recently. This is Milestone in History.
That's a pretty color.
It is
The
gorgeous.
gradient. It's
It's
pretty as hell.
it's really really pretty. It is, I believe what it's supposed to be is just like just the history of people through Milestone, like through the Milestone characters. This is what I was talking about though. Um because I was like, okay, when I first started reading it, I was like, okay, I definitely have read this before. And the reason why I had read this before is because of the fact that I had made my way through this, which is the Milestone Returns, which is why this is the art that we were all reading before. When we first started reading it, that's the artwork that everybody,
Oh,
yeah.
you
So
have to
that's
go
why
through
it
it real quick.
shifted. So literally the characters look different.
Yeah.
There's a change in everything.
And this is why, so this is an example of why when we was reading Saga, you were
Uh-huh.
saying how important it is for, what's her name, Fiona and Brian to be working together for so
For
long
so long, yeah, Fiona
because they're the
Staples.
same illustrator and writer.
Yes, it's the same. It's the same illustrator, writer, and
Letterist?
yep, it's the same all the way. They've done for as many issues as we're up to now, 60 something issues.
67. Are we 67
Yes,
now? Yeah.
it's the same trio, and that's very rare.
See, I remember things you say.
Not you actually listen to me.
Yeah, I'm never going to get over what you said earlier. Don't try to slide it in. Don't try to butter me up, buttercake.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Can you read my private chat message?
I did. And I just looked down like, well, they do look a little like, it's just the way I'm sitting because they don't always look like that. A little voluptuous today.
It's giving Vixen.
Oh, goodness gracious. Even if you're covered now, don't misplace it. I know. I do. I know.
Tell
I
her.
know.
Tell her.
I know.
And you said next week?
Next week, Thursday. Yeah.
Damn, I'm like, can I buy Bitterroot today?
And send it to me
Mail
and it gets to me by.
Let me see if there's a bind up. Hold up. Amazon, don't let me down.
Don't let me down.
Oh my God. I'm so jealous.
Don't be jealous.
And you need him. He got to write your biggest fan. Like, you know what I mean? Just your biggest on the side. Okay, Bitterroot.
I'm sure it's coming. Colombians a little punching the air about eating tacos.
Huh?
Yeah. This comment.
Wow.
I forgot about that
I
part.
thought that
It's there
too.
before the beginning. Huh?
I thought that too. I was like,
Yeah, in the very beginning, I was like, really, y'all? Really?
tacos?
Really? Tacos? Of all things to get, you go with tacos?
Wow.
There were a couple of things that I liked in terms of, I know some people get irritated when they're like, oh, like, I don't need social commentary in my comics. And I'm like, it's always a privilege for those people who say stuff like that. It's very much so a privilege for them because they don't have to worry about that and that's usually from the dude bros that I hear that all the time in the comic book industry where it's like, I don't like all that social commentary stuff in my comics. And it's like, well, must be nice that you don't even have to worry about dealing with that type of stuff in your day-to-day life.
Man,
But
speak the truth. I'm trying to see if I have your address in my
y'all don't let Bree fool y'all now. When I met Stephen Graham Jones, which I'm sorry, I still have Bree's signed copy of The
She
Only Good
really
Indian.
showed up as a friend. I mean, she always shows up, but that was.
But Bree always
nothing
knows, like, if
new.
I get the chance to meet people
We're
that
meeting them.
she loves, like,
We're
I'm gonna
meeting
make sure she's good. Like, that was my first thing is I made sure I got her a copy of The Only Good Indians and got it signed for her.
Yo, I'm about to cry. That's how excited I am for you. And I never thought in a million years I would cry about a comic artist in my life. And I am really fighting for my life to not cry on the internet right now.
Don't cry.
That's really how I feel. Like I'm over here like, oh my God, I can't believe like I'm over here trying because I don't know how many times I Bitterroot just has
Bitterroot is amazing.
it
You
has
want to
no
talk about some
heart.
good? You want to talk about some good social commentary in a comic book? Bitterroot is where it's at. But I say all that to say, do not cry.
Hold on. It's overwhelming.
I say all of that to say that I really liked the scene when they were about to start fighting each other. And Static is pretty much like, hey, you know, they call us animals, they call us thugs, they call us monsters. Basically, we need to be working together to push back against them and not fighting each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I instantly felt like that was a statement, especially for me, this is just how I felt. That was a statement for the Black community
Oh my God.
about how the world could perceive us and not giving them that authority and not falling into the trap of, well, they promised me this, so I'm going to sell you out. Because at the end of the day, for people like that, we're all the same.
Yeah.
And they
And
will
he was
use you
trying to
up and
get them
suck
to
you dry.
understand that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they use you up and suck you dry and discard you once they're finished with you.
Oh
And
my
I think
God.
that probably impacted me a lot, just not, well, first of all, let's talk about sis coming through. Mama coming through and say, how dare you tell me I'm Black and a woman and I have to exist like this every
Oh,
single. I
that
said,
line destroyed me.
I
I said,
said
yes,
yes.
sis. Tell him. I'm like, and tell him again. Yeah. And shout out to sis, his sister, for being like, take these tablets. You
Yes,
think I noticed those damn cereal boxes?
yes, yes.
Wow. What a time.
I
What a
just
time
really
to be
feel
alive.
like just I think with like some things that I've been dealing with just personally, I think that hearing that line about like, don't give people, these same people who will suck you dry, chew you up and spit you out like you're nothing, don't give in to the treat that they may be waving in front of your face,
Hmm.
because they look at you the same way that they look at all of us. You're no different. Even though they may be trying to make you feel as though you're different, we're all the same. And we should be working together to push back against that. And so that between that and his mother just saying, like, you don't really get to tell me like how to handle the situation or how to feel about the situation because I'm Black and I'm a woman and I have to exist like that 365 days a year. And I'm like, I wish people understood like that intersection is a hell of an intersection.
Come on.
That's a hell of an intersection to to deal with, I think, being here in the US. And so seeing that on page, I was like, yeah, I've all that energy. I feel you.
Okay. Ashley,
Huh?
I'm about to text you something.
Okay.
Just tell me if that's your last name.
Yes, why?
Okay. Whew. Oh, you think I'm not buying this and sending it? I'm shipping Bitterroot. I got priorities.
I'm done.
I,
After you text me, I'm looking like, okay, what is going on right now?
I'm like,
I this
okay.
is this is where I was. I'm gonna be honest with you. And I don't want to say, is it Adria or Odd? I tell me how to say it because I don't want to pronounce it wrong. This is exactly why I didn't go look at the reviews. I'm not gonna lie to you. I refuse to look at the reviews for some
Oh yeah, I can't look
comics
at
or graphic
social.
novels because, as I always say, the comic book industry is making its improvements, but it's much slower than the book community at large. Um, and it's amazing that you have some of the biggest creators in the industry trying to stand for what's right, but you have a lot of readers and reviewers who are stuck in the past, stuck 20 years ago. And so when they review, it's stuff like this comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they don't like that. They don't like um, that social commentary is inserted. I can tell you, I know a number of reviewers. Um, a number of reviewers are going to complain that the first opening panels of this comic deal with Black Lives Matter. That really pissed people off. I can like that. There's no denying that. So I know that for me, um, unless it's people that I follow, like there's this guy on Goodreads. His name is Chad. He reads over 1,000 comics and graphic novels every single year, and not single issues, trades.
Whoa.
Yeah, so not single issues. He reads over 1,000 graphic novels and comics, and he reads like through all age groups. Um, and so I trust a lot of his reviews. Um, so if I'm looking at a review for a comic or graphic novel, and I want to see like if I need like validation for my feelings about something, or I just want to compare someone else's thoughts to my own, I specifically go to Chad. I don't really pay much attention to anybody else, because I just know that if I go into like the general, like outside of your friends and people you follow, if I go into the general or the community reviews, it just would aggravate me with certain comics. So I just don't, especially the more diverse comics. I just don't do it.
Mm.
Because I get so tired of seeing SJWs. I like, it's aggravating seeing certain industry people trying to be more inclusive. When you have people like Stan Lee even getting on camera and making a statement saying that Marvel Comics is for everyone. It doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, what your background is. It's a space for every single person. And people still can't get with the program at all. Like people still
Yeah.
don't want to get with the program.
He said it, but he wrote some stuff that's questionable.
He did, and he said this later on in his life, and I'm not gonna negate the questionable things that he's written in the past. I'm not gonna negate the way that he's handled characters when he was writing in the 60s. But I think that when you people have to grow and learn with the times and adapt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And when you have creators learning to grow with the times and adapt, when you have comic book writers going back and saying, if I had the opportunity, I would do that over,
Mm-hmm.
because you learn.
Yeah.
I mean, same thing with Brian K. Vaughan.
Everybody learns.
He has done I think he's one of the best writers, but he has done some very questionable things in all of his comics, between Why the Last Man, Saga. When you look at Paper Girls, a lot of it has very questionable content in it. But these are people who learn and grow as society learns and grows. But you have a small portion of the industry that just refuses. They
Yeah.
just they refuse to look at things from a different perspective. They refuse to acknowledge that times have changed, that things that you would say and do in the 1990s, you can't be doing in 2023.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. What I like about Brian is that he tends to write social commentary and will take it as far as he can,
Mm-hmm.
which I think a lot of comic writers who are white don't do that.
They don't. Um,
And I'm not saying there's not other white writers who do. I just haven't found any that could do it to that level. Other than the Nice House on the Lake, that shit was a brain fuck. I'm trying to read volume 2.
I think for people that I'm reading, I feel like it because you take a chance in the industry. I feel like you take a chance by going in that direction. I really do, because this industry is still dominated by cis het white men.
Mhm.
And so when you decide to go left, and I don't mean politically left, it just just literally when you just
Against the
decide to go
grain.
left from the standard, I think that you're willing to take that L that may come with making those decisions. So, and it's not a lot of people that I think do that well. I mean, James Tiny, first of all, let's just talk about, like, for instance, even being queer in the comic book community is
I
still
was
like,
thinking of that too.
it's still newish. Like it's not new in the sense that they haven't been queer writers, but being out
Yeah.
and writing for major, we're talking like DC Marvel major companies, is still like, James Tynion got a lot of press when people found out that he was bisexual.
Oh yeah.
So
Wasn't Brian too?
no, it's, who is it that's actually, there's a writer that is non-binary, that is a huge writer in the
Damn.
industry, and that was a, why can't I think of their name? Oh, because it was a huge thing. Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison came out as non-binary not too long ago. And that was a, which you would think it really shouldn't be a huge thing, but when you have these big names writing for big um big companies like Marvel and DC, and it's like this huge deal that they're coming out, because it's just not a, I don't know, like, I think when you take that chance, I feel like, not, it may not be everybody, but I know for the people I read, I think that it is a reflection of what they think. And these are people who have also done interviews that have gone back and said, if I could, I would go back and change that, because they have, I mean, it's not really that they have much to gain or much to lose by keeping up with like the old standards, because you
Yeah.
still have a predominantly white cis het male readership that they're pissed that you have, especially DC. They cannot stand that DC is pretty much in a direction where they're like, okay, Green Lantern is gay,
Mhm.
Superman's son is Asian.
Mhm.
The new Batman is black. We're bringing back Nubia to the forefront. Wonder Woman is Brazilian. Like, they're doing it, and they're bringing on writers who share similar experiences as their characters. Marvel is still a tad bit behind, to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie. Marvel is, I feel like Marvel is trying to keep up, but in terms of DC, DC has pretty much said, we don't give a fuck. Like, this is what we're doing. You either read it or you don't. But people are pissed. But I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not going to disagree with this completely. I would not be surprised if there are people who were doing it because they feel like, okay, well, I might as well just get with the program now.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both, and I think it depends on the identities that the person holds on whether they are writing what is a reflection of their thoughts and what's a reflection of reality.
Yes. Yeah. And so I know that DC has been very good about attempting to match, as much as they can, match creator, and I'm very hesitant to use own voices. I don't use that anymore. Um they're very mindful, or they attempt to be very mindful about matching character identity and writer identity.
Mhm.
As much as they can be. Is it always 100%? No. Absolutely not. Um but they do try. Um with nothing, we didn't miss anything bad. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't, I mean, I don't, I don't think anyone will ever get any experience perfect because your experience can't speak for an entire group of people.
No.
So there, for me, there is no such thing as an own voice's representation of an entire experience. I don't care if you're a black writer writing about a black character. You're never going to capture the full experience because you don't live everyone's life. And so you are writing it, you're channeling it from your own personal experience. Which is why I don't use own voices. One, because I think it harms the queer community. Um, and two, I don't, it just is, it's just, the intention behind it was there. But then when it became a marketing ploy for publishers is when things just kind of got out of hand. Um, and some people write in ways that is considered still by some people to be own voices that can be offensive even if they share the identity. It could be offensive to someone else in the community. um so I refrain from using it. um I just say they may share similar identities, um and that however they may have characterized this individual is indicative probably of their own experience and maybe research that they have done, but it is only that and it cannot speak to or for everyone. Um it's it went left very quickly. I get with the creators and I was a fan of it at first too, but I think by the time I had gone through library school and just seeing what has been happening with it more over the past couple years, I just kind of try to refrain from using it. Um, I think that going back to, because I know every time we do this, we always get on these, I'm going to say tangents, but just other discussions. Um, I think that I was drawn in enough with this one that it made me very interested in seeing how Icon and Rocket are going to have a relationship with Static. Because granted, like I've never seen the TV show. I just know about Milestone, but I've never read Milestone myself. So this is all new to me to a certain extent. And so I'm very curious to see how, especially with that ending where we get to see more about Icon and Rocket, and that there's this other figure who is kind of like a vigilante who is determining who or who is not a criminal. And I thought it was very interesting that the way that that was paneled out was that you had this, I don't know what he was, this creature, this being that was watching an interracial couple walk down the street. And in the text bubbles, it was Icon basically saying like he gets to determine what's a crime and what's not a crime. And so it was almost kind of insinuating that to see a black man with a white woman in his eyes is a crime. And so
Mm-hmm.
that for me was like, okay, now I want to pick up Icon and Rocket because I want to know like where are you gonna go with this conversation. Have a good night. Um, I'm very interested in that because I know that there are varying perspectives and opinions regarding that, if that makes sense. Hey, Scarlet. I forgot this was tonight.
Who
It's all
headed
right.
out?
Scarlet just came in.
Oh, I thought somebody left.
Yes, and I feel like I'm gonna say their name again. Um, they told me to say it
Airdria?
right. It said, yeah, Airdria. Yeah, Airdria.
Okay.
Left. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, there are. I agree. There are a lot of moving parts in Static that I think even with Hardware's kind of soft appearance in this made me very curious to see what that was going to lead to. Because in the very beginning, you know, he's saying like the whole spill, the chemical spill was his fault. So they were trying to say. but he was saying basically like, I came prepared, like, you know, you think the cops or the government is going to take the fall for this when it's a black man behind the scenes that developed this? Like, I already know what's up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that too, Static talking about at the very end, talking about how people perceive anger, especially, I think
Oh my God, I took a picture of that. I wanted to talk about it. Wow.
it's,
What
I
a
think, yeah,
beauty.
I think that how Static talks about the perception of anger is going to be interesting to see how it plays out between Icon, Rocket, Static, and Hardware, because Static's friend was saying like, I'm black and I'm gay.
Exactly. And they were like, you're not wrong, but this ain't the time.
Like, you're not wrong, but you're also not right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think that once again, that's just proof the way that that was written. um I feel like was an indication of, once again, like, no community is a monolith, and how we perceive what actions are appropriate for the moment is going to vary person to person. Because you had his friend saying like, you need to stay, calm. You need to be able to think. You need to be able to process exactly what's going on right now. And being angry is not going to solve the problem. But Static's alternative was like, I should be able to feel that anger and channel that anger in a way that's going to benefit us. And so I wonder if that conversation is going to continue, because Hardware, I feel like, had this anger also, but we don't really get to see completely his emotions, because
Mm-hmm.
he's just there. He's very sprinkled throughout it, very, very quickly. And in
Yeah.
the beginning, I just like, I felt it when he was like, when he popped out and he was like, dang, you firing off, and you didn't even give me that. You didn't even tell me like to see if I had a weapon or nothing. You walk in firing a gun. And
Mm-hmm.
so even with that first instinct, like that, just that pent up anger and knowing that he had been set up, I'm like, okay, well, I wonder how his story is going to play out. So they did, even though parts of it were kind of like, felt a little disjointed, I think that it was a solid setup for introducing. It pulled enough interest for me as a reader to be like, ooh, well, now I want to know what happens with these other characters. So now I want to read the other, which is, that's the job that you need to do. Like, people may have their favorites, but you want to create a story where people are going to say, well, let me go ahead and check out these other characters and their storylines, since I'm not getting the full spectrum here in this setting. Yup, I forgot about. Yup, that's true. And I like how he told the white girl that it was nice to know what her testimony was going to be. Yeah, he knew. If it's a Milestone is Hardware, I'm intrigued for season one. I am too. Scarlet, we talked about this earlier.
Oh, that happened?
Yes, yes. It was happening in the chat where it was like, she looked different.
Is this the girl at the end who's like, your costume need to be changed? That girl?
His sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, she looked different.
It was
At least
given different.
I thought, because it was a
I
couple
felt like
things
she
I
was
didn't
getting
realize it
lighter
was
and
his
lighter.
sister.
Huh?
I said, it was a couple panels I didn't even realize it was his sister.
I was like, is this mom or sister?
Couldn't tell. Couldn't tell. But yeah, I'm glad. Scarlett, what did you rate it, since you're joining us now? What did you end up rating it? And I'm guessing just from oh, you're thinking the best friend. Okay, so everybody everybody was confused. So some people thought
Exactly.
it
I
was the
was
best
like, I
friend.
thought that was his friend, just kept getting different. And I was
I
like,
thought his sister looked different. I thought his sister
uh,
looked different every single time to me too. She didn't always look consistent either to me. Because it was a panel where they were when they were painting the house, and his sister was, I don't know, to me she didn't look like the same person.
my girl said, who is this?
I thought Fruit and Virgil, I thought his sister didn't look consistent either, but I could just be the only person who felt that way. But I felt like his sister didn't look consistent to me either. But the
Bruh.
best friend, I listen, I'm not gonna even lie to y'all. I really was not like I feel like they were a big part, but not really at the same time. For me as a reader, I
Mm-hmm.
think I was so hyper fixated on how Virgil and everyone connected in this universe that I was so focused on who was in the forefront and
Mm.
not really what was going on with, except the moment that you had brought up Brie, where he said, "Oh, I felt like really relieved to find out that you know my friends didn't think I was completely out of control."
Exactly.
Like that for well, because it was directly connected to Virgil. So of course I was like, but like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Sis looked different than me though. I think
It
just
was given different
maybe
every
this is what
time.
it was. Sister's hair kept maybe that's what was but then the sister looked just like the mama.
Exactly. I was like,
Did Jada just say that? No, hold on.
I did tell you
Yeah,
that.
Jada said I thought he had two sisters. Jada, it probably was the sister and the mama because they look so fucking alike too.
It was terrible. It was terrible. They took us through it. Unnecessary trauma.
Okay, coloring ginger multiple people, but the friend looked like a white girl one scene and black in another. That is true. But see, I thought that was the sister in that panel. I know what you're talking about when they went to go paint the house.
Exactly.
So was that the best friend or was that his sister?
That was
And
his
it's a
sister
panel where
because
like
the white boy was like, I know not to ever date a wish.
exactly. So I thought it was his sister in that panel and not the white girl.
Now y'all fucking my head
And
up.
now I'm confused because that panel, I was like, first of all, it just looked weird because it was a side view and it looked like I don't know what she was doing, but it just even this what I noticed about it, I was like, oh, this her side view looks weird. Like the way that she was drawn from the side, it had looked weird anyway. And then I thought it was, and I was like, well, why does his sister look like that? Frida and the sister were
Hey
both in it.
man.
And let me tell y'all something. That artwork had me tripping. It did had me tripping. Like I was not a huge fan of the artwork. Because if I get confused like that, that means that you're not drawing clear enough for me. If I can't tell if it's the sister, the mama, the cousin, the brother, the daddy,
Not the daddy.
boy, it just you don't know.
Not old
Like a
Pop.
fool.
What Pop's doing
Even
now?
even his ex best friend that was the internet personality looked different.
It was giving rough, man. It was giving
Like these
rough.
were initial sketches
It was hard out
that
here.
were then lined in ink. But I mean, it was good storytelling though. I think Vita did a solid job on the storytelling. His parents were dead. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Got you. I may go back, Scarlet, and read some of the original stuff to see how much the story has changed. It was giving me whiplash notes, and people are not taking this serious. I I don't like if the art was cleaner, I think that I would have rated it higher. But the artwork was not clean enough for me.
Yeah, the artwork mixed with the color choices for the font had my brain.
The brightness, it felt
Yeah,
like
it had my
watching a
brain on
video.
77.
It was like watching a video with the exposure too high.
Oh my God, it was so
It
high.
was so high on
It
it, and
was
I'm like,
so
oh,
high. I couldn't get past it.
and
Uh,
I get it because it's kind of hard because with comics now it's so digital. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
mhm.
not. I get it. It's got to be hard probably creating that lightning or that electricity type
Yeah,
of feel vibe to it, but it just was like it was almost so bright that you just literally it was like it was like somebody turned a flash on when they took a
Mhm.
picture, and you can't really see much of anything that I just feel like it muddied the artwork too much. Not
Yeah,
literal like brown mud, but
I know what you
I,
mean.
I don't, because I could tell you one comic that I read. It was a Batman Superman comic where it was Earth One and Earth Two. So it was Earth One Superman Batman and Earth Two Superman and Batman meeting each other. And so this is why I say artwork too is also so important, especially in high like action scenes. The artwork was so confusing on that. I could not tell which one was which.
Damn.
So I didn't know if it was like Superman from Earth 1 fighting Batman from Earth 2. Like it was just I was like, okay, I don't really know what's going on here. And so
Listen,
I'm
we
just
just try to do the best we can.
I was just trying to do like it was just too freaking much going on. And so I'm very ever since, because that was the first time I had read a comic where I had seen high action cause me confusion,
Yeah.
and it took away from my enjoyment. And so now I'm very critical of, if you're going to do high action scenes or intense action scenes, you've got to make sure your art is clean cut, because as a reader I should be able to know what is going on panel by panel, not sitting there like, oh well, can I turn the brightness down on this and kind of figure out like who swung here and who got, you know what I'm saying? Because
I
when old boy was
have a
like
little
giving him,
swung.
when old boy, what, seriously, because when old boy was trying to give him a good one too, I was like, well, did he hit him or did he not hit him?
Bro, I didn't know. I
I
said,
didn't know
"Okay, that's
either.
not in my ministry." I just let
I
it
didn't
go.
know. I had no idea. I was like, okay, so did he get hit or did he not get hit?
It was really
Like,
up in the air.
yeah,
It was really just up in the air.
it was up in the air, and then it would take like a couple of panels for people like, oh, I guess he got slapped the fuck out of his jaw, but I mean, I didn't see that in the panel where it actually happened.
Yeah, me either. I also thought maybe I was going back and forth too when that was happening. I feel like I'm way too. I was going back and forth too when that was happening because I was like, did I miss something? It kind of felt like you missed a
Like you missed a
panel or
piece of the,
missed,
yeah, yeah. And I
yeah.
read this slow. I mean, I literally, like took my time because I really was like, all right, girl, like slow down. Maybe you're not seeing this right. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a you thing. But one thing that I did love about this too, I didn't say this earlier, y'all, the science in this, I'm not a science girl.
I loved
But the black
it.
nerd, the blurred representation,
I loved
it
it.
was everything, because let me tell you, I'm so happy that blurs are finding, not finding, because I feel like we've always had our place, but I feel like the recognition, that's now the acknowledgement that this is a, like, it's a it's a thing, we exist. I love that his dad used that as a way to communicate when he was like, are you upset that I'm not like you? I
Oh,
can't,
that was a beautiful moment on the roof.
yeah, I can't fix a roof. I can't do this. And he was like, son, let's be for fucking real here, because you built da 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 out of and he was like, we're the same. We're so similar. We just have different mediums. And so he validated that being black and a nerd, your interest in science and technology, I may like, doing plumbing or, you know, fixing the roof or whatever the case may be, but you just have found a different medium to create, to create this content with.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make you any less of a person or, you know, dramatically different from me because of that. I loved as a blurred.
I loved it. One of the things
I really, really resonated with that, and I was
I
like,
also
"Damn, what a way
loved
to
his
feel seen."
I know. I also loved how confident this win is scaring the shit out of me. I'm also was loving how confident he was because he was like, what did he say? He was like, "Yeah, I got to study for this test. Am I gonna pass? Obviously."
But it just like even the tiny bits of him, because I'm not a science person. I've always been a history, English, the arts, that's me. When you get down to the science and the math, child, please, you can forget that. So
Mhm.
I felt very seen when they started saying STEAM instead of just STEM. I said, I wish I had that shit when I was young because I was like, I needed the arts to be included in all of that. We're just as valid. Um, but I loved like even just when he was in the middle of an action scene and he used his love of science to figure out um how to make a situation work in his favor.
Yeah.
Even
But I
that
like how
last
he
final
took
scene. Go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead.
I just like how he took theoretical physics and made it like an actuality.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but sure,
Oh,
science.
yeah.
Science. That's not me. So you can sit here and say theoretical physics all you want, and I'm like, the only thing I know is what comes up must come down. That's about as
Loved
physical as
it. And I love how like, the guy he was talking to on the phone, Metcalf, was like, all of these things are just theories. And in my mind, I was like, yeah, because a theory will remain a theory until it is proven. And I was just like, wow, that's wonderful. Not
it.
jinxed again.
Because we keep saying the same things literally at the same time.
Oh,
Like she'll type it in the chat and then I'll verbally say it. Yeah. I just I the nerd in me was like, yeah, this is awesome. Like I really, really love that. That final scene though, where like he makes the electric currents travel all the way down to the servers, and then that dark panel when he asked the two guys like, so basically so what's it gonna be, and I'm like and it's just a little spark in the room and I'm like that's a bad ass way. It felt very like movie, like action movie, and then we cut to the next scene a few days later, like, so I don't know, it was definitely, I mean, 4-star read. It's not the best one that we've read so far this year, but I think it was pretty, it was pretty good. Yeah, Virgil can so. He was like, yeah, his
it was
rhythm's coming back
good.
to me now.
It was good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, y'all. Well, Erica hold on a bit longer because I'm getting sleepy myself. I do have to be up early. Um, what is next month's pick?
March.
Bree, would you like to discuss with the class why you know that next month's pick is March?
Because I started reading March thinking we were reading that today.
Oh.
Yo, the devil tried to take me now. I wasn't ready to be taken, but I was about to get taken.
So I'm so sorry, y'all. Oh my goodness gracious. When I tell y'all I am tired, I am exhausted. So we are going to be reading um March by John Lewis. We're going to be doing volumes 1 to 3. Um, Bree, have you read all of March before?
No, never.
Okay. This will be a reread for me, but it's been a few years since I've read March. Um, if y'all want to do it as a bonus, you don't have to, but after he passed away, John Lewis was already working on another graphic novel called Run. Um, and it was released after he passed away. Um, I don't know if I'm personally going to get to it or not. It depends on um I don't know if I'm going to get to it. Depends on what my schedule looks like, but I definitely do recommend checking that one out if you have the capacity to check it out.
Mm.
But that one is by him, but released after his death.
Mm. Okay.
Hmm. So I may actually, Hoopla did have March at one point.
They do. So
Huh?
when you type in March, it
Yeah.
doesn't come up. You have to go
Oh,
type
if you type in his name, make sure you type in John Robert Lewis.
yeah, if you type in that, then it comes up. But if you
Mhm.
type in March, you're gonna get some other weird shit.
Yeah.
Damn, thanks you for letting me know that March is text heavy.
Yes, it is text heavy. It is text heavy. Because I mean, it is a historical graphic novel, so it is a lot of text. So I would recommend not waiting until the night before to read
Man,
March.
like me today, I literally finished when the live show started.
Yeah, no, can't do that with March. March will take too long to read.
Yeah.
The problem, I remember asking it. Yeah, this is the way that things fell. Um, so we have been trying to stick to the schedule of the first Wednesday of every month, y'all. If that ever changes, we will let you know. But that means that the live show for March will be May 3rd.
Yeah. I'm trying to also do the same thing for my book club,
Yeah.
Black Classics, but
Yeah.
unfortunately my co-host and I had a schedule difference, so it'll be next week. Next weekend.
Oh, because you were trying to do the Sunday, right?
Yeah, but
The
it's
Sunday the same week. Yeah.
yeah, couldn't work.
Yeah.
Couldn't work this week.
I am excited for May's pick though, because School Trip just came out yesterday for Jerry Craft for New Kid. Class act School Trip.
Oh,
School Trip just came out yesterday. And so I'm excited for that. But
noise.
yeah. All right, y'all. Well, y'all have a good night, and we will see y'all in a month's time. Remember, March volumes 1 through 3. If you're interested, I also recommend picking up. Um, I also recommend picking up Run, just because it's chronologically it's the next chapter in his work in the civil rights movement.
Mm,
So, just if you're interested in that, um, you could just pick that up as an added bonus for yourself. I can't promise that we'll discuss it because it'll depend upon whether Bree and I read it.
yeah. There's times where stuff just be too good. I have a lot of reading on my plate. I think also in May, all I'll be able to do is read um, the Black Classics
Mm-hmm.
in this book club and the book club in a book for my book club for patrons.
Yeah,
I think that's all I'll be able to read.
to do. I get it. I get it. All right, y'all. Have a good night.